The UK's much discussed AI Safety Summit kicks off today. Here's what you need to know. Welcome back to the AI Breakdown. This morning, the UK's much anticipated AI Safety Summit began. This is one of the largest and most high-profile events to tackle head-on the issues of AI safety and X risk, and how governments might be involved not just in the immediate challenges of AI, such as bias and hallucination, but also in thinking about those big, society-altering types of issues. Now, this event has seen a huge amount of controversy. There has been controversy around the British government's decision to invite the Chinese government to participate. There has been controversy around the very focus on these most extreme issues of AI safety. There's been controversy around who was going to attend and whether world leaders were snubbing the Rishi Sunak government. But to understand how they are thinking, let's start by reading a very short op-ed that the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak himself published just a couple days ago on Monday called "The World Must Act Now on AI." The PM writes, "I believe nothing in our foreseeable future will transform our lives more than artificial intelligence. Like the coming of electricity or the birth of the internet, it will bring new knowledge, new opportunities for economic growth, new advances in human capability, and the chance to solve global problems we once thought beyond us. AI can help solve world hunger by preventing crop failures and making it cheaper and easier to grow food. It can help accelerate the transition to net zero. And it is already making extraordinary breakthroughs in health and medicine, aiding us in the search for new dementia treatments and vaccines for cancer. But, like previous waves of technology, AI also brings new dangers and new fears. So if we want our children and grandchildren to benefit from all the opportunities of AI, we must act and act now to give people peace of mind about the risks. What are those risks? For the first time, the British government has taken the highly unusual step of publishing our analysis, including an assessment by the UK intelligence community. As Prime Minister, I felt this was an important contribution the UK could make to help the world have a more informed and open conversation. Our reports provide a stark warning. AI could be used for harm by criminals or terrorist groups. The risk of cyber attacks, disinformation, or fraud pose a real threat to society. And in the unlikely but extreme cases, some experts think that there is even the risk that humanity could lose control of AI completely, through the kind of AI sometimes referred to as superintelligence. We should not be alarmist about this. There is a very real debate happening, and some experts think it will never happen. But even if the very worst risks are unlikely to happen, they would be incredibly serious if they do. So leaders around the world, no matter our differences on other issues, have a responsibility to recognize those risks, come together, and act. Not least because many of the loudest warnings about AI have come from the people building this technology themselves. And because the pace of change in AI is simply breathtaking, every new wave will become more advanced, better trained, with better chips and more computing power. So what should we do? First, governments do have a role. The UK has just announced the first ever AI Safety Institute. Our institute will bring together some of the most respected and knowledgeable people in the world. They will carefully examine, evaluate, and test new types of AI so that we understand what they can do, and we will share those conclusions with other countries and companies to help keep AI safe for everyone. But AI does not respect borders. No country can make AI safe on its own. So our second step must be to increase international cooperation. That starts this week at the first ever Global AI Safety Summit, which I'm proud the UK is hosting. And I'm very much looking forward to hearing the Indian government's views. What do we want to achieve at this week's summit? I want us to agree the first ever international statement about the risks from AI, because right now we don't have a shared understanding of the risks we face. And without that, we cannot work together to address them. I'm also proposing that we establish a truly global expert panel, nominated by those attending the summit, to publish a State of AI Science report. Over the longer term, my vision is for a truly international approach to safety, where we collaborate with partners to ensure AI systems are safe before they are released. None of that will be easy to achieve, but leaders have a responsibility to do the right thing, to be honest about the risks, and to take the right long-term decisions to earn people's trust, giving peace of mind that we will keep you safe. And if we can do that, if we can get this right, then the opportunities of AI are extraordinary, and we can look to the future with optimism and hope. So I think there are a couple things that are worth noting about this. First is that, especially compared to the Americans, the UK government is definitely much more comfortable talking about actual X risk and actually losing control of AI. Now, they obviously couch it here and say there's a debate happening with some experts thinking it will never happen, but that doesn't change the fact that they are literally and figuratively putting it on the agenda. The second thing that's interesting is what they're actually trying to achieve at the event. On the one hand, I think one could make an argument that simply bringing people together to talk about these issues face to face, in the context of an extremely influential and powerful group of people, is valuable in and of its own right. However, the UK government is not just trying to be a host of a good conversation. They want to be the leader in a new type of international action. However, given who is coming to this event and how things have evolved, their ambitions for what that action can be are clearly a little bit tempered now. We just heard what Prime Minister Sunak said. I want us to agree to the first ever international statement about the risks from AI. I want to establish an expert global panel to publish a state of AI science report. And over the long term, I want to collaborate to ensure AI systems are safe before they are released. Now, of course, what this event and these would-be actions are competing with are A, the individual actions of nations like the United States, which obviously got out ahead of this event by releasing the Biden administration's something like 110-page long executive order on AI earlier this week, and on the other hand, other ongoing processes around global AI regulation. One of those is the so-called G7 Hiroshima process, and that is clearly making progress in its own right. On Sunday, Reuters reported that the G7 was about to agree to an AI code of conduct for companies. This was designed to be a voluntary code of conduct that would create a set of benchmarks for how major countries govern AI. The G7 document seen by Reuters showed that this was an 11-point code that, quote, aims to promote safe, secure, and trustworthy AI and will provide voluntary guidance for actions by organizations developing the most advanced AI systems, including the most advanced foundation models and generative AI systems. Now, a lot of this sounds like some of what we saw in the Biden administration executive order as well. Reuters writes, the code urges companies to take appropriate measures to identify, evaluate, and mitigate risks across the AI lifecycle, as well as tackle incidents and patterns of misuse after AI products have been placed on the market. Now, back to the AI Safety Summit that's happening in the UK today and tomorrow. Let's talk about what's on their agenda. The UK government released a PDF called Introduction to the AI Safety Summit. In it, they echo many of the same themes from Rishi's letter that we just read, namely that there are lots of opportunities but also serious risks that we need to tackle. Now, one thing that's worth noting is in the section called Scope of the AI Safety Summit. What is frontier AI? They write, the summit will focus on certain types of AI systems based on the risks they may pose. These risks could stem from the most potentially dangerous capabilities of AI, which we understand to be both at the frontier of general-purpose AI, as well as in some cases specific narrow AI, which can hold potentially dangerous capabilities. So the scope of the summit then, as they show in a nice little chart, is 1. Narrow AI with dangerous capabilities, e.g. AI models for bioengineering, and 2. Frontier AI, e.g. cutting-edge LLMs. Within that, they are focusing on 2 particular categories of risk. 1. Misuse risk, which they describe as where a bad actor is aided by new AI capabilities in biological or cyber attacks, development of dangerous technologies, or critical system interference. The second is loss of control risks that they say could emerge from advanced systems that we would seek to be aligned with our values and intentions. Now, why wouldn't they address the more immediate risks? They actually talk about that in this paper as well. They say, this is not to minimize the wider societal risks that AI, both at the frontier or not, can have, including misinformation, bias, and discrimination, and the potential for mass automation. However, they write, the UK considers that these are best addressed by the existing international processes that are underway, as well as nations' respective domestic processes. For example, in the UK, these risks are being considered through the work announced in the White Paper on AI regulation and through wider work across government. It is therefore important that the focus of the summit is complementary and not duplicative of these existing efforts, and that the UK and other nations continue to work at pace across all these forums to address the full range of risks. So what's really clear from this, even clearer than in some of the other places that they've written the purpose of this event, is that this is meant to fill in the gap around the biggest risks, the ones that have serious potential for loss of life. It feels like there is an argument underlying that last little piece that we just read, that those issues are not currently being addressed in a meaningful way, and that gap is a dangerous one for humanity to leave unfilled. Now, when it comes to how much impact it's likely to have, there has been some challenge in securing the participation of world leaders. However, the event had a coup when earlier this week it was announced that Elon Musk was expected to attend the event in person and then subsequently would be hosting Prime Minister Rishi Sunak for a conversation on Twitter Spaces. Now, Elon is nothing if not a controversial figure, but he is also a media lightning rod, which means that simply through his presence, this event is likely to have much more attention paid to it, which I think is precisely the point. Beyond Elon, the government of the UK also published the governments and organizations that were confirmed as attendees, although without giving a lot of detail about who from those organizations or governments was actually going to come. From academia and civil society, you have a huge range of people, including the usual suspects, Future of Life Institute, Open Philanthropy, Stanford, Berkeley, Oxford, and more. Governments, you have Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Ireland, Israel, Italy, Japan, Kenya, Saudi Arabia, Netherlands, New Zealand, Nigeria, Korea, Philippines, Rwanda, Singapore, Spain, Switzerland, Turkey, Ukraine, UAE, and the US of A. And then some of the notable industry and related organizations include Amazon Web Services, Alibaba, Anthropic, Cohere, Databricks, Google DeepMind, Google, Hugging Face, IBM, Inflection AI, Meta, Microsoft, Mistral, NVIDIA, OpenAI, Palantir, Salesforce, Scale AI, Stability AI, and of course, Elon's xAI. Lastly are the multilateral organizations, including the European Commission, UNESCO, United Nations, and the Council of Europe. China, for its part, is sending a vice minister of science and technology. So this is going to be interesting to see. What I'm watching for is to understand whether this will be a really great conversation where some important people talk about and agree on the scope of some risks, or whether there will actually be pathways to action beyond that. I don't know exactly what I would consider success, but if nothing else, I'll be paying attention to see how the world, and how the media specifically, engages with the event. Can the presence of someone like Elon make it a thing that everyone's talking about, or will it just fade quietly into the background? That is what we will watch, and I appreciate you watching it along with us here at the AI Breakdown. Until next time, peace.